how long a train would take, and maybe to decide which station you use to load your freight on a train. And you can calculate distances to estimate the arrival of a currently running train for real-time updates to passengers. So what are the features OpenRailRouting had already? It was able to route railway tracks. It offered map matching using GraphHopper. It had a special treatment of points, which means that it does only those turns at points that are technically possible. And it took already into account the gauge of a railway track, electrification, which means voltage and frequency, and it included penalties for reversing, so that you didn't get set-shaped routing results, but instead make a loop. We've released version 1.0 a few weeks ago. It's an upgrade to, that's a typo. If we upgrade our GraphHopper to version 9.1, that's 3.1, and this means that we can make use of the custom cost models that you can specify in JSON format at runtime. With the upgrade of the GraphHopper fork, you can also provide penalties for reversing at wire points. For example, if you make a route request from Saarbrücken to Frankfurt, the shortest way and even the fastest way sometimes is to reverse at Mannheim Central Station, but it's faster to use the route around the city center. Then you could skip the time for reversing, which takes at least 5 minutes, even longer depending on the type of train. Something here. With the new GraphHopper version we can also use the new feature of encoded values, which means that you can access values of the edges of the graph at runtime, for example, for the gauge, for electrification, for voltage, for the type of railway, for example, if it's a tram track or railway track, or if it's a narrow gauge track, and so on. And we can also easily add new encoded values. For example, we've added the default direction of travel of a railway track. In the past, you could get routing results like this. In Germany, trains use the right track of a double track line. The routing result was on the left track in the past at this location, and nowadays it takes taking into account which is the railway coded with third direction equals forward or backward, which allows members to indicate what's the default direction of a track. And we've now, for the first time, have a public instance to play around with the routing engine. It's for experimental use only, not suitable for production because it's a small virtual machine at Hetzler Cloud, and I'll demonstrate its use now. This is a routing request from Antwerpen-Berchem to Łódź, where the last SotM Europe was and where we are now. You can, at routing.openrailmap.org, select different routing profiles. Currently, it's using a profile that accepts any track at any gauge with any electrification, which is just a fictional train, because most trains are suitable for one gauge only. But we could also use a routing profile for a local train that doesn't need electric power, or we could specify a custom profile. For example, now I'm live coding. So I would like to thank for your audience. It's currently not working at the moment. needs to be better documented, and I'm open for your questions after all the lightning talks.